Hi, we are live, everybody.
Oh.
Hi. We are live. Where's our hostess? There we go.
All right, here we
We are
go. We're
live.
back on again.
I
So,
think you I think you're missing a couple people, aren't you?
TJ sent them the links, so they're probably going to join on shortly.
Okay.
But do you want, I think we should start from the top. Do you want us to start from the top or where we left off?
Up to you.
Well, it looks like we're live now. So depending on if the audience didn't, we're open to a new audience. So let's just take it back from the top.
All right, perfect. I love it.
Mhm.
All right, ladies. Where's Ingrid? I think Ingrid fell off.
She did.
We're going to give Ingrid another couple of minutes to get back on.
Technical
Yes.
support. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Ingrid.
All right. So we're going to take it from the top again, Ingrid, now that we're on a new platform. We're going to go ahead and start out with you this time, Ingrid. Why
Okay.
not tell us a little bit about you, your name, company that you're with, how long you've been in the mortgage business?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ingrid Escaño. I have been in the mortgage industry 29 years this year, 1996. Um, what can I tell you? Knowing the ends and odds, and having been an underwriter helps me have the perspective of what the lenders are looking for when we are qualifying a client, a borrower, a homeowner, a future homeowner, and knowing how to overcome those hurdles and obstacles. So we connect the dots, we make the puzzle. My trademark saying is thinking outside the box, yet within the guidelines. There are legalities, and the question is not, um, do I qualify? The question is, do you like the terms you qualify for? And at that point, we evaluate what the plan is. So, a plan of action, proper planning, and that can make home ownership so much of a reality for all of those that are on the sidelines thinking about it. And Florida is experiencing a huge trajectory in our home prices. We have a 13% growth in the last year. So if you are not a homeowner today, please stand up and take action because it will only become more expensive. And we're here to support you.
Thank you, Ingrid. So we're going to go with Shauna. Shauna, why not tell us about you and what you have to bring to the table today?
So I'm Shauna K. Ellis, attorney at law and owner of Immigration and Federal Law Services. I actually my so I'll just start out by saying a very common thing in the a common discussion in the immigrant community is whether one is able to qualify prior to getting to the stage of citizenship. And the American dream, really, for many, consists of being a homeowner. And really, I've had clients ask me, because believe it or not, as an attorney, you get asked everything. They want a home. They ask you, hey, can I qualify for a mortgage? And so, coming across Ingrid, for example, who basically, along with Allison, told me that it is in fact possible for someone with a work authorization to qualify for a mortgage was very enlightening to me. And I do believe it's important to grace this platform just to be able to not just help to one, understand what kind of non-citizens we're talking about. Is it just those who are in a state of authorized stay, or it's a situation where it's anyone who is able to live and work? Like, just kind of help to define exactly what type of non-immigrant, what kind of non-citizen immigrants truly do qualify for a mortgage is in fact something that I'm able to help with today. Oh, you are muted, Allison.
Yes.
I'm Deanna, you want to tell us, tell everyone who you are and what you actually bring to the table today?
Yes, yes, yes. So, hi guys, I'm the owner of Johnson Expert Credit and Tax Services. Having over 18 years of experience in the financial industry and actually as a real estate paralegal. Um, Coming from the financial space where I've managed multiple loan offices, I've managed finance offices and car dealerships, and then going over into real estate as a paralegal for 5 years is what actually shaped and molded my business. I've been able to work with clients on the finance space who's were high risk clients, little knowledge on credit and how to be able to leverage it. Also, to going into the real estate field, where I'm working with clients that are building wealth and creating generational wealth by getting investment properties, working with individuals buying a home for the first time. So, switching from that space where I was working with high risk clients to working into with our clients and excuse me, working with our clients in real estate, it molded what I'm doing today. I wanted to help more people, and that's how I started Johnson Expert Credit and Tax Services, where I've been able to help thousands of individuals get their property for the first time, get funding for their business, have a business that's long-standing, and just help people be able to buy those homes as well for, create generational wealth through home ownership. And I'm here to share some more knowledge with those that are in the field of buying a home with my team here. Thanks,
Thank you.
ladies.
And my name is Allison James Ellis. I am the team leader and realtor for Ellis Group by Key Classic Realty. We're based in Claremont, Florida. I actually decided to bring everyone on this platform today to you, and that this is based on how much they have helped most of my customers over the last couple of years. So I think that there's a wealth of knowledge that everyone can gain from each of them today. So please go ahead and share any questions that you have in the chat. Enjoy, and we're going to go ahead and start with our first question. And our first question, we'll go ahead and start with Deanna. Deanna, when would you suggest a buyer should start preparing for the purchase of their home?
Number one would be is if you're able to rent, you're able to buy. As we all know that when you're renting, you're already paying someone else's mortgage. So of course, why not pay your own and be able to benefit from the equity, things that you can't do while you're renting. So that's number one. Number two is just when you're in a mind space of growth and you're making the proper and necessary changes to one, prepare yourself financially, then I think those are the top two things that lets a person know that they're technically they're ready to go ahead and move forward with that goal.
Thank you. And then Ingrid, you want to go ahead and add to that? Do you have anything to add?
Yes, homeownership is now. I do home loans and I have been in the industry now, right? I said 29 years. And homeownership was always something I made possible for everyone else. And the question became, when am I going to be a homeowner, right? So I'll share a little personal story. I'm a single mom with two amazing kids, right? And when am I going to be a homeowner and not close everyone else's file, but do mine? And my friend said, do the numbers. And she's my friend, my best friend, and my mentor. And she said, of course you can do the numbers. And I did my numbers. And all of a sudden it became real. So pre-qualifying does not cost you anything but your time and our time. We invest our time to educate you, to bring home ownership from that dream, from that, oh my God, to that, wow, I have the keys in my hand and I can do this. I am a homeowner. We prepare you from A through Z, ensuring that you understand the process. It's transparent, it's easy, it's graceful, and you're protected and you're informed. It is possible. When is the time? The time is now. Because if you know now where you're going to see yourself and you see yourself in 5, 10 years, a year, 5 months, we can make that happen. 30 days, 60 days, let us know. Let us take time to invest in you. You take time to invest in us, and we'll put together that plan. It takes your thought and it takes your cooperation and your want to make that dream become reality. Um, when is the time now? I can't say that more, Allison. I did my numbers and I drew my house in my mind, and I did a little faith on that and a little spiritual Jesus. And I said by December, and it was January. And somewhere along the line, 15 days later, I was signing a contract, which I was like, oh my God. And then deciding how I can make that happen. And every Friday I said, wow, until I got to closing. And I love my home as I designed in my brain, in my head with my imagination. And we can help you make that reality. Deanna will manage credit. Shauna will ask you about your immigration status. And Allison and her team will definitely find the home that is in your imagination. Be it the backyard for the dogs, or the playground, or be it the condo with the city view, or the investment property that you'd like to start building your portfolio. We can help you attain those dreams just by being a minuscule part of that bridge in your dream.
Perfect. Shauna, anything that you'd like to add to that, Shauna?
So I'd like to add that you must first ask the question whether you have the right information. Do you have the correct information? Because, like I said, there are a lot of people like myself who did not know, even as a tourist, right? Someone who's authorized to be in the US, I could actually be a homeowner. There are a lot of people who just don't have the facts. And so I'd say, when asking the question as to whether you'd like to obtain property in the United States, always ensure that you're speaking with the right people, right? Get with the mortgage specialist. Deanna, I was very happy to have her, particularly because a lot of people say, listen, I don't have the perfect credit score, right? And oftentimes is without even actually speaking with someone who can say, okay, if you're at X place, here's what you need to do in order to get to the next level in order to pre-qualify. And so to Ingrid's point about getting pre-qualified, make certain that you speak with the mortgage specialist. Try to get an estimate as to where you stand. That way you can actually get in line. So let's say if you see yourself living and working in the US, I suspect Ingrid is going to get into, the different types of loans that you can qualify for based on your immigration status, what kinds of loan you qualify for as a visitor versus as a green card holder. It's important to get the information from the right people. That's the point I'd like to drive home.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies. All right. So the next question that I have for everyone, any tips you would share with anyone trying to purchase a home?
Savings
Savings.
and financial, high school, right? The explanation was how to manage a checkbook and how to write a check. I would have much rather the explanation on how to build wealth.
That's right.
And real estate is building wealth. Your property will generate an increase, an average of 3 to 10 to 5% a year. It just depends on location and purpose, your utilization of this property. Financial prudency, saying no to that wonderful register cashier offer of the 10% at TJ Maxx. Don't double dip with your credit card and your debit card. The dollar is only the dollar. It can only be used once. And yes, credit cards are very healthy when they have the reward points and they pay for your travel and they pay for your gas. And credit card is a protection of your checking account because you're not swiping your debit card, which is your actual cash, at that gas station that may be compromised. Um, Credit cards build your credit score because you are demonstrating that you have the ability, the financial responsibility to use the credit and pay it back wisely. Avoid paying that financing fee and cancel out the credit card every month. And that is how you build credit. And those three numbers are very important. Yes, the credit scores range from 350 to 850. 720 used to be wonderful. 500 is still possible. Do you qualify with a 500? Yes. Do you like those terms at a 500 credit score? You may not. But within our team, we can help you improve that. And depending on your specific profile, we will build that tailored plan for you. Everyone sitting around your Thanksgiving kitchen table sharing their experiences is only sharing half of what they want to share. The other half is not always shared. So it's not equal to compare apples to half apples. And you must privately take a conversation, take a moment, invest in us, and we will invest our time in you and make home ownership that reality. That is part of working within a team, or it takes a village to make it true. That's what we offer, that collaborative support within ourselves and that knowledge and those years of experiencing and doing it for the greater good. And the greater good is home ownership and home affordability. Um, Even if you're an investor, I want to help you build your profile. We want to help you build your portfolio. If you're a first time home buyer, we want you to have the house for your children and your dog, in the community that you'd like, in the design of school that you like. So take a minute. It doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation. Share with us your information and we can put you on that right path. But don't be swayed by somebody else's half apple opinion. We'll give you all of those nuggets to build your own apple.
What about someone who is specific, someone specifically that's, self-employed? We get a lot of self-employed individuals here in Central Florida specifically. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, the tax credits and the tax benefits that entrepreneurs have, the creativity that is offered to those that choose self employment is very wide. And it is not a negative, but it changes your game plan, right? I like to say someone will get their piece of meat, whether it's the bank and their interest rate and their down payment, your skin in the game, or Uncle Sam and the IRS through a W-2. There are many different tax structures and many different tax benefits. I am not a tax preparer. I'm a mortgage finance specialist. I can evaluate all of your income avenues and tell you which dots legally connect and make sense to the bank. If you are a hairstylist, if you are a landscaper, if you are a gig worker, there are plenty of ways that you have income that you receive that we can document and connect those dots. I'd like to say I'm a little bit better than the priest. And I don't, always have a good memory. So I'm one to want to know everything because those everythings those are the dots that need to build that connection to home ownership. So just because you're self-employed and you started a great gross uh, revenue and end up not so positive on your net, does not take you out of the ballpark. You may just qualify for a higher down payment. The disparity on the interest rates, because everybody says, well, I want the FHA low rate or I want the conventional low rate. Again, it's a name brand versus an off brand. That's why it is called non-QM, a non-qualified mortgage, which is an alternative way to document your ability to repay a loan. We can connect those dots legally. And where you believe a number, a sticker price, or the bragging rights of saying, I have the lowest interest rate, forget it. I'm going to give you apples to apples and compare. And at the end of the day, we all have a key that turns the door knob to our home. So one person may pay W-2 taxes and the other person may be self-employed, but we each have a key to our home. And with us, we can help you build that. So don't be despaired. We're the ones that worry because we're giving you that yes, you can, but you have to believe it. I often tell my homeowners, my future homeowners, imagine yourself in your kitchen cooking. How does that feel? That feels great. Imagine the backyard. How does that feel? That feels great. We will be there, but you have to trust the process, trust us, follow our guidance, and we can make it happen. And if you believe it, we believe it, and we can together make that reality.
Okay. Why would you recommend a client to buy a house now instead of waiting until later? I'll start with Deanna this time.
Okay. And is it okay if I elaborate on what you asked about the self-employed?
Yeah.
Just from it, because in the financial space, I am a tax strategist. So it is important. So just to, and not to be long here, but number one, as Ingrid mentioned, is having a team. When it comes to self-employed, your tax professional, you should have a tax professional that is understanding of your goals, especially if you're wanting to make major purchases like buying a home or investment. There are things that you want to have on your tax return that doesn't affect your gross income, because number one, that's going to be a major impact on the type of property that you purchase because of your revenue. Of course, there are other products that you could use, bank statements, but a lot of things that self-employed individuals fail to do is they write off everything. And that is something that's going to affect that bottom line at the end of the day. So me having a relationship that I have with my mortgage lending team and knowing what things that they look at on a tax return that they could add back to your income is very, very important. Because if you're going to just a regular tax professional that's just in compliance and they're just submitting what you have, but you have to go to someone that, or you should want to have someone to represent you that is understanding of major purchases that you're going to prepare for. So again, instead of writing everything off, look into things like depreciation. You got your home office expenses, those things, lenders, your mileage. Lenders, even though you're saving on your tax returns from those deductions and your income may be lowered, but the lender will add those dollar amounts back. But when you write something off in its entirety, you can't get that back, and that lowers your amount of income. So I just wanted to say that just one, having that team is so important. So that's why I talk to everyone involved in my client's situation. Even though they come to me for credit, a lot of times it may end up being something with taxes, and I have to chime in and do that. But I'm going to talk to their realtor. I'm going to talk to their lender. This is just me, because I want to make sure I am well versed in each one of those areas, so I can make sure that my client is going through the process seamlessly. So again, team, having that proper team. And like Ms. Shauna said, making sure you're talking to the right people that are knowledgeable. So, but when it comes to taxes and the different structures and income and things, there's so much more we can elaborate on, but I just wanted to touch on that. And I'm sorry, Allison. So what was the other question that you asked?
No, and I want to touch on that because that's a very great point that you actually brought up there, Deanna. One thing that I always tell my clients that are looking to purchase in the future, I always tell them, whenever you're going to do your taxes, you want to make sure that your tax preparer is aware that you will be purchasing in the upcoming year, because what they put on that document, it can help you or it can hinder you.
And hurt you. Yes, right.
So it is very important that whenever you're thinking about purchasing, you advise your tax preparer that you will be purchasing in or intend to purchase in the coming months.
Any
And
asset.
if I may just chime in, and again, this is teamwork, because where Deanna finishes, Allison picks up, and I can add, and Shauna as well. One tax preparer may have a different vision than another,
Mhm.
and neither one is wrong or right. It is perspective, and perspective is very much a 360 view. And the goal or the focus point is the goal. It's home ownership. And I'll emphasize it again. I'm thinking outside the box, yet within the guidelines. That means legally, I'm finding the connection. Shauna will legally find the connection in your status. Allison will find that property and negotiate and make sure that you are winning legal. So one may say one and one may say the other, and I'm not one to argue, because an opinion is an opinion, but an expert is an expert, and a specialist is a specialist, and we are experts and specialists in our field, so we can with confidence advise you of how you should proceed, and most importantly, the choices that are available to you, not because of my comfort, but your goal, your choices. What can you do? Do you change? Do you go from Schedule C to an LLC? What do you do? Do you W-2 yourself? Do you salary yourself? What's the benefit? And what are those pros and cons?
Yep.
So it's not a yes or no question. It is the 50 shades of gray in figuring out what legally fits for you. And we can go through these exercises, and it's our time invested in you if you invest in us, with us.
Perfect.
I have
Anything else? Perfect.
I actually have a question for Ingrid, and if Deanna is able to also chime in, it'll be great. So, we have a lot of individuals, a lot of foreigners, specifically, willing to obtain investment property here in the United States. And the question is, what does the qualification process look like for such an individual?
For a non-permanent resident alien, we
Yes. Okay.
when you must have a legal status in the United States. So recently, in our great government environment, right? A lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of turbulence. I sympathize with everyone. I understand. What's been taken away is the instability of where you're going to go, the fluctuation. I get that. But if you're here legally, and you're working and you are doing everything correct, and there is no temporary status, you are still available to purchase a home. We are getting ready to close, and Allison's team with a homeowner who is here and in the process of becoming a permanent resident alien. But they have met the four corners of requirement with their legal attorney and representation, and they are not here on a temporary in limbo status. They're permanently here, and in process legally. So as long as we can document it, we can make it happen. And it really comes down to, I do this, I do that, I do the other. Okay, can we document it? I had a client who said, I don't have a statement for my Coinbase crypto e-wallet transaction. You can imagine the emojis that formed on my forehead. How do you not have a statement? And why? Because he solely conducted his Coinbase crypto e-wallet from his phone. So every time he went to the statement icon, it went berserk and said, oops, wrong action. I drove an hour to meet him. I sat with him for another 2 hours and we worked through it. I walked away with all of my statements because he was using his phone. It was not available on a mobile phone app. It is available on a desktop app. And when that light bulb lit up above my head, because it did take me a minute, I partake in technical support all time, right? We went to the desktop and he downloaded his statements. And I walked away and I sent them to the bank. And guess what? Voila, cleared. How the $140,000 got transferred from e-currency, e-wallet into his Bank of America account. This man was willing to go to Bank of America and print out every receipt that transacted in cryptocurrency transfers. I said, no, I need an actual statement, not the transactions, because we still don't know where the money's coming from. Crypto, whatever base it is, it's an e-wallet that doesn't have a statement. So we are in this world where connecting the dots and making that make sense is my job. A lot of times, homeowners or clients or future homeowners don't understand, don't know, and this and that. And it's asking that question, like Deanna said. It's really, and Shauna said, you don't know until you ask. I didn't know I could be a homeownership, and I made everybody else's dream come true until I did my numbers. I was like, oh, it's not that bad. I could do that. Well, I took the dream out of the head. I put it paper to pen, and I started designing. And I started calculating and thinking, and then it became true. So take it out of your head, put it into action, put some fuel in it, get us behind you to support you, and we can make that come true.
And one additional way that I can help you is there are times when there are clients who do get approved, but they're not able to prove their status because a lot of people, believe it or not, don't believe in getting their green cards renewed or even getting upgraded to citizenship. And so they are actually legal, but they're not able to prove that. And oftentimes it takes on average 8 to 12 months for you to get your green card renewed. There is actually a way for you to obtain proof of your permanent residency status, and that's a service that I do provide. So some people would actually just wait until they get that green card before they start the mortgage process, for example, when they don't need to.
Now I have a question for you, if I may ask Shauna. Now, at what point do they get their social security number? Because in the credit space, to help them with, American traditional mortgage lending credit and all, I would need a social to help build up their credit profile. At what point will they have a social?
Okay, so a social comes with a work visa, right? Or a work permit. And so if a person is here, let's say on a H-2B visa, they will get a social security number. And for those who are actually doing family-based petitions, they would actually get a social security number the moment they submit an adjustment of status application. So that's usually how it works.
Okay, perfect. So that's awesome to hear. So I could start working on their credit as soon as they have a social. We can start building it out and get them prepared for American.
Or an ITIN. We can still work with an ITIN, and an ITIN requires either 10% down or 20% down. Mortgages is always evolving. Growth is continuing to evolve. We started with an Apple 1 and we're on to an Apple 17. Mortgages will adjust in the climate that we're in. We don't know if TPS comes back in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. We don't know where the interest rates will go, but I'll tell you, interest rates started at 18 and 30%. And an 8 and a 7 and a 6 is not bad. Will we get back to 1.875? Absolutely not. Not unless we have another Spanish flu, COVID, BOVID come around, and that's in 100 years. Is a 4.75 possible? Yes. But more realistically, what we're looking and what we all believe is the target is 5.875. We're right above that. We're probably 6.99. It's not bad. Date the rate, marry the property. That's what grows. If you think that sitting on the sidelines because you're saving on the property or you're saving on the interest rate, the savings that you're saving on the interest rate is minuscule in pennies compared to the growth equity you have in that property on a yearly basis. And that is what you're going to be missing out. And there is no comparison of apple to apple on that because the property will continue to increase. The rate will always fluctuate. It is cyclical. It will come down and we can refinance you. We can always improve those terms, even though I'll tell you a cheat way how to do and cancel your mortgage in 15 years instead of a refinance. And we'll always look out for that. So I appreciate you all. And I have to go. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit short for time today. And I look forward to working with anyone who is possible to want to make homeownership true. And we can help you. So
Ingrid, before you go, can you talk a little bit about some of the down payment assistance program that you have?
Absolutely.
The lowest credit score that's needed and the lowest down payment needed?
480, 500 is the lowest credit score. In that comparison, a 20% down payment. So those are the gives and the takes, right? And there's three things that the lenders are looking for: your credit, your income, and your collateral, right? Your income, it should be stable. Stable meaning you don't have employment gaps. Your credit, it should be viable. You can't have all negative. You have to have some positive in there. We can help you build that positive. Your FP&L bill, your cable bill, your car insurance bill, all of that counts. And then the collateral, make it a good property.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I think her reception went out. Oh, let's see. She's going to come back on. So I really wanted her, Ingrid, she has a 0 down payment. So you can basically purchase a home with basically no money, just your closing costs. And when I work with her on that, I typically negotiate closing costs. So you end up find out that people, they're buying homes, moving into their house, just paying for their inspection and appraisal, which is less than $1,000. So that's one thing that I wanted her to talk
Amazing.
about. Yeah, and then she also has that 1% down payment. And then the Heroes program starting July 1st. Heroes program will be back. And that's basically where you get 5%. You can use that towards down payments and also closing costs. So just reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll basically guide you in the right direction regarding how you can learn more about these programs. All right, so the next question that I have here, Deanna, it would be, why would you recommend someone to buy a house now instead of waiting until later?
So pretty much piggybacking on all of the things that we've mentioned earlier. For one, it's just wanting to build that generational wealth, having something to leave for your family. So paying towards something that's going to be yours and owned by you, opposed to paying someone else's mortgage. So that's number one. And then just when you know that you're ready, go for it. You know, if it's a goal, take the necessary steps to accomplish it.
Okay.
And you know what? Something that Ingrid did share with me, because I know, Deanna, you had asked a question earlier concerning credit. One thing that she did share with me is that there are some lenders who actually will use foreign credit report. So, for example, for student visas, individuals who are, visitors, or just for the investment visas and so on and so forth, or they just don't meet the 2-year residency threshold. They actually there's some lenders that are willing to work with them by using their credit report from their foreign country. Of
Yes.
course, there, just as she was saying, in those instances, the DIBs are different. So there's a higher down payment percentage, for example. And I did make a note of some of it that she told me. So that means I was trying to pull it up. So for example, they would perhaps ask for higher down payment sums, or you will get and or higher interest rates, and of course you'd need more documentations than what would be required of, let's say, a US citizen, right? So the fact is that there are options basically for even those individuals without a credit history in the United States.
And we do have that program where foreigners, non-US citizen, once you have 35% down payment, you can actually purchase a home in the US once you have 35% down payment. So no US credit history needed or anything like that. Of course, they won't be even checking your foreign credit history once you have your 35% down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much, ladies. And then one frequent mistake you realize that people constantly making when buying a house.
So I know you can attest to this. The first thing I'm going to say is going out there looking for a house and you haven't even got pre-qualified. You don't know what your credit score is. That is the greatest thing. I have clients in the credit process sending me problems like, listen, I'm not sending you to my realtor if you hadn't even talked. We hadn't even gone over your credit yet, or we hadn't finished it. And you're looking for houses. You're going to be very unhappy. So that's number one. Don't go doing that. Number two,
I can second that one.
Yes. Then number two, once we look at the credit, we determine what realistically what you're looking to pay for in a mortgage, how much you've saved, just going over that money management call, then just getting with our team again. And so we can put that personalized plan together for the clients as they see fit. But this is so important. I just can't stress how important having a right team is. It can make the situation so much easier or harder. So making sure that you talk with a lender or either a credit specialist first to understand kind of where you are. But I will say this, as a financial strategist, my goal is always to save money. So rather than saving money to not paying off negative accounts that's on a credit, if we can get it removed and deleted to save you thousands, that's the goal. Also, there's awesome programs that you just mentioned that Ingrid has 0% down. That's amazing. Not sure what the credit score needs to be, but if there was a situation where your score is lower and you have to put that 20% down, that's where we need to come in and make sure we get your credit in position. So I'm always going to be in a position where I'm helping clients save $1 on every situation, and not just for now, just for this one goal. It's just in the future, just to prepare you fully. I know most times working with lenders, they'll give clients plans as well, but that plan may take longer. It could take up to 6 to 12 months, and it's more so of paying things down. My goal is to make sure that we get these negative things completely removed while also saving you money. So again, just making sure that they have a sound plan and they understand the process it takes to get to that end goal.
Perfect. And just to add to what you actually mentioned just now, I thought, I did not actually mention this earlier, but to get 100% financing, I know one of these 100% financing programs that she has in place, you need to have a 600 credit score. So at least a 600 credit score, and that's it. And, you can get 100% financing.
Not like USDA or anything like that.
No, that's not USDA. That's actually a conventional loan program.
Okay, well, 600, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And I have clients that went through it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So did you have anything to add to this, Shauna?
I actually do, because as you all were talking, I can think about a few instances where I have a client whose spouse is going through the home buying process, and I say it's only one of the two of them that's going through the home buying process, but they're not doing it jointly because of the person's immigration status. And oftentimes, that person is actually partially complete with getting legalized, right? And what they don't know is that perhaps it's good to, get with an immigration attorney who can actually help them to get through that process faster by virtue of, making certain that the correct documentation is actually submitted with their applications, for example. And I don't want to be long winded with it, but I just want to say when you're starting the home buying process, be honest with your realtor, your lender, and your attorney. What exactly are you trying to achieve, right? And sometimes, for example, if you get pre qualified individually and you recognize that you're not going to get the home or not able to get the home that you really would love, but perhaps if you waited, let's say, another 6 months or so for your spouse to be legal, maybe it's worth the wait, right? Speak with your lender, speak with your realtor, see if those goals can be readjusted in order to allow for that other individual to join, because maybe even though they're not legal, they have an ITIN. That's something that can be used towards your process, for example. Or maybe someone like Ingrid who can say who's she is a lot more flexible than some of the other mortgage specialists to help you to find a lender who is able to provide you with more options in order to incorporate your spouse. So, just be honest from the jump, and honesty will help you to get more help. If you're just frank with the people helping you, they could perhaps provide you with more help. Some people are ashamed to say that they're undocumented or scared, right? In this climate, it makes sense why they would be scared. But if it is that you are in a space where you want to make this very important decision for your family, it is important to get the right people involved.
And I want to add to that, in the state of Florida, once you're married, your both spouse, they have to acknowledge the mortgage. And you don't have to, even though they're not on the mortgage, they can be on the deed. So even though they're undocumented, that's a choice that they can make to actually not be on the deed. But, they can be on the deed once they have a valid photo ID.
So state ID, for example. As a matter of fact, let's start with passport,
They
right?
can use a passport from another country. You need a valid photo ID because they have to acknowledge that mortgage on the day of closing. Okay. So I'm going to allow the title professionals to speak to what exactly would be required for them to be on the title, because I can't speak to that, but I know you do not need to be on mortgage to be on title. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. For me, I tell my clients transparency goes a long way. You let me know and I will get you answers.
That's right.
Okay. So, just let me know what your situation is and I always find a way. Okay.
And you know what, too? One last thing, Allison. Deanna, your service is it's underrated how important it is to have a credit repair agent on speed dial, right?
Yes.
So as we go through the pre-qual process, right? Allison is great at saying, listen, I'm gonna hook you up. Now I'm able to put a face to the name, right? Or that hookup. And it is so important because oftentimes, like you said, people are paying exorbitant sums for rent, right? All because they have bad credit. And what they don't understand is that, you're basically continuing a cycle. Bad credit equates to high prices for everything, right?
Yes.
So if you get pre-qualified and your credit is the issue, it is so important to get with someone who can help you to get on track. Some people, because of the nose, all the discrimination that they face by virtue of them having bad credit, they don't seek help. But I'm here to tell you, seek help. Seek help. Like, because guess what? The things that you couldn't get 2 years ago, those are going to be things of the past the moment you get that credit repaired. And once you get it repaired, because of how you felt emotionally, you're going to return to it. Most times you don't. Right. And I love the fact, Danny, that you said that you actually do provide aid, give them strategies. They don't just come to you for credit repair. They will get help. So, take advantage of that. I'd heavily emphasize everyone should do that.
Yes, indeed. Like I said, team, and having, I pride myself honestly just by having a one-stop shop, because when you talk about finances, it's a broad spectrum of everything, all kind of goals, right? So it is important to be able to, help them and walk. And I really do walk them through their process every step of the way. I even go to show up at closings for my clients, but I
That's
really
nice.
truly want to hold their hand and show them that they have it, because a lot of times they need that. They need that accountability, and they just need someone to know that every dollar plus more is accounted for. But yes, I definitely hold their hand. And education is number one. And I'm very transparent. I will get on to my clients when you do some things that's going to take you 10 steps back. No, we got somewhere to be.
Accountability.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm the queen of it. I'll call you in a minute. What's this?
I love that.
No, but it helps though, because Deanna, Deanna, she helped quite a few of my clients, and we were able to see results, I think, in as little as 2 months. What is the shortest amount of time you have ever seen results? Is it 1 week?
So 2 is technically, well, let me just say this. With our credit process, we're doing things in a sequence. So removing inquiries, that old inaccurate information that needs to be removed, inquiries, old addresses, employments, we can see a change in that within 2 or 3 days. As far as soon as you can see something getting removed off of a credit, that could be within 2 weeks. Now, as we're building credit, outside of the credit repair, we're building the credit profile. So adding positive accounts, trade lines, and things of that nature. You can also see a change within 2 weeks as well with that. So I'd say on a low end, 1 to 2 weeks, you can get results on your credit.
And, the way how Deanna works, I actually have one particular client that had something on their credit that I think almost no one else could get off. And when I called Deanna, that client was very doubtful. And I said, I promise you, if there is a way, she can find it. And we called Deanna, and she actually took on the challenge. And we're about to close this Friday because of what she did.
Awesome.
And that's not just a few dollars. It's a couple thousands of
hundreds of thousands. To be clear, we got 140,000. It was. Excuse me.
Yes, it's a lot
in the first month. It was a challenge, but I'm always open for a challenge. Anytime you're working with numbers and finances, it's not easy. But I that's how I work my best when I'm working at a challenge. So I know that I'm in my purpose. But we had a few challenges, Allison, whether it was debt, whether it's situations that led to taxes, but we managed it. But again, that's where the team comes in at,
And she's always available. Again, that's why it's important that you're very upfront and transparent, when you're talking to your realtor. Make sure that your realtor is resourceful. Mm-hmm. Because I typically tell my clients, whatever your situation is, I have a guy or a girl for you. Just tell me your problem and I'll figure it out. Your problem is my problem.
Yes.
And we typically figure it out. And Deanna, I think she's a very, very great partner, and hence why she's on the platform today. So thank you, Deanna. Deanna, I want to give you some time to talk a little bit more and do a little bit of deep dive into what you do. But before I do that, Shauna, anything else that you wanted to share with the audience? Why not tell us a little bit about what tips you provide to any immigrants that's trying to purchase a home, and anything else that you wanted to share?
All right. So just I want to echo the importance of getting the facts. Seek information about how to achieve home ownership, right? It's a goal, right? And it's probably the biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life. And so you have to be strategic. So you first off,
Shauna?
reasonable goals on your home ownership journey, right? That includes speaking with a mortgage specialist, get pre-qualified so you know where you stand. And I want to say that pre-qualification should not just be about the dollars, right? It should be an entire conversation about where you stand. So at that point in time, your legal status, your spouse's legal status, if you are using a parent to help you along this process, what is their legal status? How many people can actually help to achieve this goal together, right? It's good to figure out where each person stands, whether you are able to do it alone or whether you can get the help of someone else, and whether that someone else needs to get some help. Otherwise, it's good to figure that out from early, right? I'd say too that there are plenty of people here who just simply don't know that they qualify. And so if Allison, if you're aware of any way that we can increase the information on this or improve it, it would be great to do so, because like I said, a lot of people think that if you're not a citizen or a green card holder, you cannot get a property, whether it's an investment property or it's your residential property. You know, it would be great to just have that knowledge readily available for much more individuals in the immigrant space. I'll say for my clients, I don't know why I love to advocate for home ownership so much, but it does come up. I go, okay, because you know, we have certain conversations as we're going through the petition process, and they would say certain things, and I go, or you know, why don't you guys consider home ownership? And I am not a realtor, but it's a good conversation to initiate. And, you know, one thing leads to the next. Oftentimes, let me tell you, like I said, I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from Jamaica. Home ownership, the moment you leave high school, they start asking you if you're going to start building your house. That is, are you going to start putting down some money for steel and block? Allison, you can attest to this. Yeah, so from early, it's a huge deal. And so you can imagine, majority of my clientele are individuals from the Caribbean. And I found that there are a lot of other places that are similar to us. And so home ownership is at the core for them. And then you have those who are seeking a way to be able to operate their businesses in the United States, right? Some people, they've had credit history here when they were actually either when they had someone who they were married to, and they lived in the US for a short space of time. And so during that time, when the marriage ended, I know of a situation, they left their credit cards and everything and just said, if I'm going home, I don't need to clear stuff up. Those people need to contact Deanna, right? Because if you're going to acquire property here, you need to get that figured out.
That's right.
And then identity theft, right? Immigrants are prime targets, right? What do you do in that situation? How do you get incorrect information removed from your credit? Those are things that you have to think about as well. Figure out a resource. You don't have to sit and wait for the investigations to be completed in order to get certain things removed. You can reach out to someone who can give you that aid in order to get things straight, so you can actually obtain your investment property or your home.
Thank you. Yes. And just to add to that a little bit, what Deanna and her team, I think you're probably going to talk about this, Deanna, but they actually do a deep dive and actually go through the fine prints, the legal terminology that's being used and all of that, and break things down to see how she can get things removed. So Deanna, she is not solo. She has an entire team. And they actually work very well together to get things done in a timely manner. And I think, a lot of people go to these credit repair specialists that tell them, don't pay your credit card, don't do this, don't do that. If you go to someone and they're telling you don't pay on your credit card, that you're actually trying to, and you're trying to build your score, we have a problem. Stop talking about it.
A big problem.
Your credit repair specialist should not tell you not to pay your credit card, not to pay your debts. That is a big red flag that you're talking to the wrong person. So anything else that you wanted to add, Shauna?
No, other than if you have your immigration goals, for example, if you'd like to, I'm in Florida. In the Miami space, for example, a lot of people, whether it's from Canada or from other countries that are part of a certain treaty, they'd like to obtain investment property here in the United States. And oftentimes they have their deposits. If it is that you're looking to expand your business to the United States, however, you just don't have the relevant documentation to do so, or you need some aid with acquiring the property in order to make this a reality, I can help. And Ingrid is able to help as well. If you have any credit needs whatsoever, I'll be sure to tell you, listen, you need to get it figured out because it's fixable. So that's what I want to just leave you guys with. Like, just make sure that whatever your situation is, you seek help. In this day and age, there is help for you.
Thank you
With
so much
all
for
that's
joining.
going
Shauna.
on, it is. Mhm.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. I do have to jump off, but I'm going to stay active because I will be able to get back on in just a few minutes, just in case you need me in the future. All right.
All right. We'll just take you off the stage for now. Thank you so much, Shauna.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Deanna, I
Sean.
want to
Bye,
turn it
Deanna.
over to you
Take
now,
care.
Deanna, and you can actually go ahead and present. I know you have quite a bit of information, a wealth of information that you want to share, and I want to give you this platform to go ahead and do so.
Okay. And I think I'm just going to just talk through it since we've had them for some time and just giving some FAQs and things to know when it comes to working with us and what things to expect. One thing that's important is understanding your credit score. A lot of people come to me, they may look on Credit Karma, they may be on Identity IQ, they may be on Experian, but then their scores are different and they don't understand why. So the one thing you have to understand is that you have different types of scores. You have your Vantage scores, which you will see on Credit Karma, Identity IQ, Smart Credit, and a few other platforms. They are real scores, but it's only 10% of those scores that is used by, let me see if I'm going to share a screen here just a second. That's used by different creditors. Now, when you're going to buy a home, it's definitely idea that you know what your FICO scores are. So you have FICO scores as well, and you can find those scores on Experian or either My FICO. I'm getting my screen shared here, you guys. So your FICO scores is 90% of creditors and lenders use those scores. So it is definitely important that you have access to a platform such as Experian or My FICO so that you can see what those scores are. Now, let me see if I could present this here. Okay, I don't think I can present it, guys. So I'll just go back to where it was. All right. Am I back on the screen, Allison? Oops.
We're not seeing your screen, but I can see you.
Oh, you can see me? Okay.
I can see you.
Okay, it tells me I'm backstage. Did I try? Hold on a second. Okay. Well, as long as you can see me, that's perfectly fine. So again, just understanding your different scores. So whether it's a FICO score, knowing where your FICO scores are, which platforms and what sites to find them on, and also understanding that outside of Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, you have what we call data furnishers. Some people may use the term secondary bureaus. They're not a bureau, but they're data furnishers. You have places like LexisNexis. You have, here I go. Okay, so you have LexisNexis. You have SageStream. You have CheckSystem. You have Innovis. These data furnishers houses public information, things like bankruptcies, felonies, student loans, so much more. Just your old addresses, your parents' name. And when we're going through the sequence of disputing things on your credit, it is important that we acknowledge all of this old information because accounts on your credit profile is tied to some piece of public or personal information. So knowing what to remove is also important. So if you know you had an eviction, rental history is reported through data furnishers, and there's about 6 or 7 data furnishers that report rent history. You got Rent Reporters, the Rent Bureau, and a few others that reports rent. So when we pull your credit report and we're doing an analysis, and I see that you have a collection or that has rental history or an eviction, I'm automatically going to dispute with these data furnishers as well. It's equally important because Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they pull information from these data furnishers. So with that being said, if they're going to pull information from these data furnishers that's public, that's how they come back and they send these letters saying that your debt is valid or validated. But guess what? I need that in writing. I need you to tell me what exactly that you received by law that you're required to have to report a valid account to someone's credit. So a lot of times they don't. They just send something back saying that it's valid. And that's where these consumer laws come in that my team stays up to date with to make sure that we can get things removed off of your credit profile. So you can't report anything that's inaccurate. You have to validate it. You have to have wet signatures, agreement, itemized billing statements, those things that we look for. And you have to have your name spelled right on there, your address, all of those things, because any little piece of information that's inaccurate and that's not verifiable, it could be removed. So when we pull a client's credit profile, it is important that we look at all of the accounts that's open and closed because they play some sort of impact to a client's credit profile. So aside from understanding the different types of credit monitoring sites that you use and the type of scores that are there, just knowing that there are data furnishers. And maybe for a later time, we can go into debt when Ms. Ingrid gets back on, but there are different types of debt that plays a factor in a client's debt to income ratio, which is one of the number one things that can cause a loan to get denied. You can have a good credit score, but if your DTI is not in that ratio that the lender requires, you can get denied. So there are things that like student loans and so much that's going on in the house, under the new presidency with student loans and student loan debt that is important. I can't stress it enough. It is important. If you have student loan debt and if you don't have it in deferment right now, if you're not on an income-driven repayment plan, which could change any day now, it has changed 4 and 5 times over the past month alone for people being able to get on an income-driven repayment plan or not. I had a client in a situation, we were buying a home. They didn't let him renew his income-driven repayment plan. And his payment was $2,500. So he had to risk either paying $2,500 or getting a ding on his credit. And we couldn't have that at the time. So guess what we did? We called every day. And Congress, people in the House, they changed it like 3 days later where they were accepting it again. And we were able to get them back on. But people, you got to be mindful. It's so much that's going on. You have to stay connected with people that are knowledgeable because these student loan payments, when they come in, they're coming in at 90 days late. You're automatically 100 plus points taken off your credit. So put them in deferment. See if you can get the income-driven repayment plan or just get on a regular payment plan. So those are just some things that are heavy, that weighs heavy on its DTI. But getting those things in place will help lower the amount of debt that a lender looks at when it comes to that. And I think that's just some important things that people need to understand, Allison, outside from the repair and just understanding their score. Credit building is also important, like Ingrid did touch on. She said, you can go and get these things removed from your credit. You can work on your debt, but they want to see that you're credit worthy as well. They want to see that you have some accounts in your name, that you've had some established history, see how you repay your accounts. Because if they're lending you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 for a mortgage and you can't keep up with, or you're carrying over a balance on a $500 card and you're maxing it out, that could lenders could look at you in a different light. But there are ways that we can help work around that, and that's authorized user trade lines where we can help lower your overall utilization. If you have credit card debt, that's an issue. We could use those higher limit cards to add you as an authorized user to balance out your debt. It won't help individually, but your overall debt, which still helps it to some rate. But I think I went on and I rambled a lot without having people here to actually ask us questions so we can pinpoint specifics that they may be concerned about. But I highly suggest that anyone make sure that they talk with myself, you, Allison, or even Ms. Ingrid. And if you're immigrant, talk with Ms. Shauna. So with our team, so that we can definitely guide you in the right direction as it relates to everything in the process of buying a home.
All right. Thank you so much, Deanna. I really, really appreciate you joining the team, joining the meeting today, sharing all this information. Everyone, I look forward to having you again next month. We're going to have it, I think it's July 23rd. It's going to be the fourth Wednesday of each month. Okay. So next month, July 23rd again, 1 p.m. We look forward to having you. And, actually a few tips that I want to give you before I go. I know everyone mentioned this before, or actually you did mention this before, Deanna, but get approved before you start shopping for a home. Okay. Don't start shopping for a home and then you realize that the home that you're in love with, you can't afford it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's going to break your heart. It's going to break the kids' heart if you're taking the kids with you home shopping. Just a little bit more than you need to actually, a little bit more trauma than you need to put yourself through. So I highly recommend getting pre-approved and then set expectations, set realistic expectation. Have a list of things that you're willing to compromise on and things that you must have. Compromise list. This is where I tell people you got to be realistic. If your budget is $100,000, know that when you go into the house, there will be things that you need to do. How much are you willing to do? So that's when, if you're buying as a couple, you would sit down and talk about it as a couple. What are the things that you're willing to do when you purchase the home? And then the next thing would be basically just, have a timeline in mind. Your realtor needs to have a realistic timeline. Here in Florida, it takes about 30 days from when you actually get accepted to close on the property if you have a loan. If you're purchasing cash, you can close within 2 weeks. If you're using some kind of program, such as any down payment assistance program, that would take you about 45 days to close. And then I typically say allow yourself about 1 to 2 weeks to find the right home, because you don't want to purchase in a rush. So you want to allow yourself at least 1 to 2 weeks to be able to shop and find what exactly you're looking for. So again, I urge you, have realistic expectation, and whomever your realtor is, while we would love to work with you, if we're not your realtor, I would love for you to make sure that you keep a very open and honest relationship with your realtor. For now, I say bye for now, and follow us on each of our platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and we'll keep sharing information to help to educate you and get ready for your home buying process. Thank you. My name is Allison, and I look forward to talking with you sometime in the future. Bye for now.